Hello, and welcome to the Nonfiction Authors Podcast. I'm your host, Carla King, and today we're featuring Lisa Tenner, who talked with us last year on how to find and work with a literary agent. Lisa will be speaking at the Nonfiction Writers Conference that's happening this week, May 10th through 12th, 2023, on how to capture the interest of busy agents, acquisitions editors, and future readers with your elevator pitch. The Nonfiction Writers Conference is held entirely online and has been since it was founded in 2010. You can attend live, or if you missed it, sign up and catch the replays. The event promises to be the most exciting ever, with author Cheryl Strayed keynoting and sessions that range from craft to business to agent pitching sessions. Now here's Lisa's talk about how to meet and choose the right literary agent for your book. Lisa Tenner is a leading authority in book writing, publishing, and book proposal development, whose clients have signed 5- and 6-figure book deals with HarperCollins, Random House, Hachette, Beyond Words, New World Library, New Harbinger, St. Martin's Press, Yale University Press, keeps going, Johns Hopkins University Press, HCI, and many other major publishers. Lisa has been quoted by the New York Times, Boston Globe, Glamour, Vice, and Market Watch, in addition to appearances on ABC World News and PBS TV. Her latest book is The Joy of Writing Journal. Spark your creativity in 8 minutes a day. And you can find out more at lisatenner.com. Hey, Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Carla. It's so great to be here with you.
Yes, and welcome. Okay, agents, you're so popular, agents. Can you tell our audience, how do you even start to find an agent? Is it best to meet them at conferences or online, virtual events? Where do you get them?
It is great to meet them at conferences, and the Nonfiction Writers Conference is obviously a great one because you have a Pitch the Agents forum. So I highly recommend that. Other conferences as well, live or virtual, can be a great way to meet agents. And then also there's a lot you can do online. You first of all, you want to do some research and see who might be a good fit. And you can do that there are a number of search engines like Query Tracker, or now I'm going to forget the names of them. Writer's Digest has one. There's a whole bunch of them. So you can just Google that. And that's a good way to start, putting in some information about your genre and maybe even the topic, and see who comes up. You want to find agents who have an interest in your area. Let's say somebody who likes health books, and especially brain books. So if you have a book that's on brain health, that might be an ideal match. But you don't necessarily want an agent who has a book that's a direct competitor of yours. It might be better to find someone who writes or who represents books in that arena, but it's not like a direct competition. And you can also look at some of the complementary books in that would complement your book, and look in the acknowledgement section and see who was the agent for that book. So, and then, just on social media, start to follow these agents, and you might get a feel for their personality and preferences as well. Writing Cooperative on Medium often has lists of new agents or agents that are looking for new writers. So that can be a good resource. There's just a lot online. And of course, Nonfiction Writers Association, you can find support as well.
Wow, that's a lot to wade through. And I know there are a lot of agents and keywords, right? Because we all work with, the Google, who knows what we're looking for all the time. But how do you really identify and drill down on the absolute best matches for you and your book?
Well, so these query, these different queries are a good place to start. So that, I think it's Query Tracker. Writer's Digest has one. Duotrope. That one I think is paid. So there are a lot of different options. So if you just query, search for an agent, you'll get a whole bunch, and you can try different ones and put in, health books, brain health, or self-help books, spirituality or self-help books, yoga. And that could be a really great way to see who's interested in those kind of books. But like I said, they're going to look at actual books and see who's acknowledged by the author of a book that might be complementary to yours is a really good way to go as well.
So, okay, so there are search bars in these tools, which makes total sense. So say you found an agent. What happens when the agent says yes? And what's next? Are there what contracts and expectations we should be prepared for in that best case scenario, right?
Yes. Yeah, you definitely want to see their contract and show it to a lawyer because you want to know exactly what you're signing. And your lawyer may suggest some changes. They're fairly standard, but one thing you'd want to know, for instance, is what if they don't sell the book within a year and a half or 2 years? Are you able to exit that contract and get another agent, for instance? So you do want to make sure that certain things are in place, and a lawyer, an intellectual property attorney will help you with that. Then you also really want to interview the agent. You don't want to just say yes. But one thing I would ask is, why are you excited about this book? And really try to see, are they excited? Hopefully they are really excited. And I can remember with The Creativity Cure, there were several agents interested in Dr. Barron's book. And one agent said to me, it was we were at the Harvard conference, and she'd taken the actual book proposal that we'd sent to her with her. And she'd read it and said, I really want to represent, it was actually a team, the husband and wife, but the wife wrote most of it. So it's Dr. Carrie Barron and Dr. Alton Barron. She said, I really want to represent the Barrons for this book. I'm so excited. And she told me why she was excited about the book and also why her. And she mentioned other books that she'd agented that she thought showed what a good match she would be for the book. So she really pushed harder than any other agent about why her. And to me, that said she was really both hungry and for that particular book, and she really saw why it was such a great book. So she was going to make a great case because her enthusiasm was going to rub off on acquisitions editors at publishing houses. So when you see that kind of enthusiasm, that, especially from that was Jean Fredericks, and she was a very experienced agent. So I knew that she was going to be a great choice because of that. But other things are, do they have the same vision as you? So always ask, what changes do you see making? And if their changes sound good, that's great because they have a lot of experience. But if it's really far from your vision and you feel something feels wrong about it, I would definitely consider, is this the right fit? Or are they taking the book in a different direction that I'm not comfortable with? I would ask them why, because you might learn that actually their direction makes more sense. But I would definitely try to make sure, you're on the same page.
Got it. So is it okay to query more than one agent at a time, or do you have to go one by one? And because maybe you have 2 or 3 agents that say yes. I know that might be rare, but what's the etiquette there?
It does happen. Yeah, It used to be that you could only query agents one at a time. And in fact, when my first book, we were looking for an agent, that's what happened to us. And so it took many years to get publisher. Actually, we ended up not getting an agent, but we published with Health Communications. And that was a very frustrating process. So I'm happy to say that the process is so much nicer now. And you can query more than one agent at a time. You do want to let them know. And usually I say something like, we're just querying 3 agents and you're one of them, just to let them know we're not sending it out to 20 people, because if we're sending it out to a ton of people, and even if it's a very exciting book, an agent may feel, well, is it really worth my time to read the proposal if they're sending it to so many people? And, what are the chances I'm going to get this? So I would just query a few at a time, like 2 or 3. And but some people will say they query a lot. So, it really depends a little on personality. The other thing I would say, though, for the very first agent you query, I would think, who's your very top choice? And when you query them, say that you would be happy to give them a 2-week exclusive. And what that does is it bumps it up for them. If they are excited about the book, they're going to make a decision more quickly. So that can be a helpful thing to say, you're my top choice. And so if you are interested in seeing the proposal, I'm happy to give you a 2-week exclusive. That can be a big deal for agents. So that's I think a really helpful tip.
That was going to be my next question, because I know authors who have waited so long to hear back from agents. How much time do you give them? So you can say, okay, for 2 weeks, I'm only, I won't send out my query to any other agent. What is the normal time that you would give an agent, and when would you give up?
Yeah. So, there's not like a very specific time frame, I'd say. Recently, I queried an agent for a client of mine, and we heard, I think, within a day. And that was an agent I didn't know. It was a top agent that I didn't know personally. So, if they're really excited, sometimes they'll hop on it. On the other hand, sometimes they didn't receive your email, right? We all know email can go to spam or trash or get deleted by accident. So you do want to make sure they got it. So it's perfectly reasonable. If you haven't heard back in a couple weeks, it's perfectly reasonable to say, I just wanted to make sure you received my query letter. And the benefit of maybe doing a pitch the agents at the Nonfiction Writers Conference, or pitching agents at another conference, is that then when you can send the proposal right away. You don't need to send the query. You might still want some of the points that would be in the query letter in your cover letter, but or your cover email in this case. But you can skip that step. And so in the subject line, I would say something like requested proposal for blah, 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 so that they know this was something that they've already requested. And they're more like, they realize, okay, this isn't the slush pile. This is something they requested. So it's really helpful to say that. And then in your cover email, you would again say, I'm so thrilled that you were excited about, seeing the proposal for this. I think you're such a great match, and say why. And that will give you a little bit of a leg up too. So how long, I guess I didn't totally answer your question. So how long do you give them? So after 2 weeks, you could just say, I just want to make sure you got my query. And, if you don't hear back and you really think they're a great match, you could call the office just to say, I'm just calling to make sure that so-and-so got my query letter. Agents are really busy. Often they have assistants helping them, things do get lost. So some agencies may not be as friendly about your phone call. It used to be you weren't supposed to call, but nowadays, because things do get lost, it is okay to call in general. It varies agent to agent. You can look on their website and see their guidelines, and they may say, please do not call our office. Then don't call their office. But you could, if you're following them on social media, for instance, you could send them a private message via Twitter and just say, just making sure you got my proposal. So there are other ways to follow up too. And I would encourage you to don't be aggressive, but be assertive.
Twitter's a great suggestion. I have seen tweet chats with agents, and there's some sort of hashtag agent day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct in saying that Twitter is a popular venue for meeting agents?
It is. And you can do hashtag MSWL, which is manuscript wish list, to see any conversations where agents are talking about what they're looking for too. So I forgot to mention that, but that's another good way to see what agents are looking for and who might be a good fit.
Great. Well, that's why you're the book coach. You know all this stuff. I mean, it's really hard for us to see, with blogs and on the internet, what's really true. Is it also true that you shouldn't attach your proposal? Should you put it in a Dropbox or a Google Drive or something like that? Because I know sometimes emails don't get through because of large attachments.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah,
And viruses.
yeah. That is a good point. So that can be a better way to go. I'm not crazy about Google Docs, but I think, as you some of it depends on the age of the person. I think the younger people really like Google Docs. So if it's a young agent, they might prefer a Google Doc. But yeah, Dropbox is a good way to send a large file too. So again, it might depend on the person. But if you send a query letter, you could even ask them, how would you prefer to receive it? Would you like it in Microsoft Word or would you like a Google Doc? And where would you like it through Dropbox or Google? So you can kind of find out from them what their preference is.
Excellent. So query letter first, no attachments, just the query, then ask how they would like the manuscript or the proposal delivered. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the process.
Unless you met them at a conference, and then you can skip that query and just have like a little opening about how you met.
Great. Well, perfect. So you did mention, just really quickly, how do you find an intellectual property lawyer?
So, there's one that I tend to refer everybody to. I don't know if you want me to mention a specific name.
Well, maybe we'll put it in the show notes. We'll look at that. Okay.
So she just has helped a lot of my clients to negotiate contracts, particularly publishing contracts. So if you go to a smaller publisher, you don't go through an agent, but you find the publisher yourself, she'll negotiate that contract. And so it is great to know somebody like that. And the reason I like this agent is this intellectual property attorney is she's also a literary agent. So she'll only take on clients in agenting that have a big platform that are in the right genres. But for the intellectual property or contracts, she's happy to do that work for everybody. So she's a great resource.
Okay, great. So this is my last question. It's about self-publishing. When you coach, or do you coach self-published authors to create proposals and get agents? What are the different scenarios, and what are the chances if you've had a self-published book, or if you're thinking about self-publishing? We hear that if you self-publish, you can't get an agent, or if you self-publish and do well, you can get an agent. The answers are all over the place.
Yeah. So, for nonfiction, and of course, it's going to vary by genre and by topic, but sort of the magic number I've heard is 15,000. So if you sell 15,000 copies, then publishers and agents are thinking, wow, especially if there seems to be a larger market than that, you've done a good job selling that book, and they start to get excited. So that can be sort of the magic number. But I've also had clients, I had one client who wrote a book proposal, or maybe it was a query letter that got rejected. I think it was just the query letter. It was sort of in the slush pile. It probably wasn't even the agent she wrote to. I'm sorry, this wasn't for an agent. This was directly to a publisher, but she probably didn't write. She probably, even though she wrote to a senior person, it was probably seen by somebody who was like an intern or something, and she got a rejection. A month after she published the book, she heard from that same acquisitions editor that had rejected the book saying, I saw your book and I've read it and we'd like to publish it. So, sometimes there are these gatekeepers, and magic can happen, and that gatekeeper is out of the way and the right person sees it. And, she didn't sell a ton of copies when she self-published. But it was more just that publisher was looking for a book on that topic, and was really excited to read it. Said, this is the book I'm looking for.
Do you encourage your authors that you coach? Do you encourage them to self-publish after a certain amount of time goes by, perhaps?
Yeah, I would say it's maybe not as much the time as the kind of feedback we're getting too. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it might be, platforms just not big enough, even for the smaller publisher. And then it becomes more a question of, do you want to spend your time jumping through these hoops? And, they'll help in the long run with book sales, but is that what you'd like to be doing? Or do you want to get the book out there and really have it be impacting your readers and also maybe growing your business, depending on how the book fits in with your business model. So sometimes it's more like, let's reassess and see what makes sense given your goals. And sometimes it's really more just, you know what, I really want to get the book out there. And there's certainly so many obvious advantages to self-publishing, from the amount of control you get to how much more quickly you can get it out there. And then also how quickly and easily you can update it and make changes. So there are lots of benefits to self-publishing. And sometimes as people meet some resistance in the publishing field, they start to think, I can see those advantages. Maybe I should just self-publish. So it's sort of very individual, I would say.
Great. Thanks for all that good advice. And, as a book coach, I'd love for you to just talk about what you do a little bit and let us know how to find you. Do you work with authors on how to word a query letter, make sure they're on target, like maybe rewriting the book? What do you do, and how do we find you and connect with you? And also mention your book, which sounds like 8 minutes. That's great. I want to read an 8-minute solution, please.
Here it is. So it's Joy Writing Journal, Spark Your Creativity in 8 minutes a day. And we've got these fun QR codes. So in addition to, just like a few words about the prompt, like sort of my personal experience with it maybe, or kind of something leading into it, you can watch a video of maybe other people responding to the prompt or something related to the prompt, or listen to an audio meditation to get you in the zone to write. So there are lots of fun experiences along the way. And I do a little bit of teaching on some of the videos too. So it's a fun experience. And I think I've heard good feedback. People are really finding that it jumpstarts the creativity. And I'm hearing from like such a variety of people, from podcasters who are looking, for help to write their scripts, to moms who are using it with their kids, which really surprised me because I thought of, older people using it, but I didn't really think of kids. But I think it's rated G, so it works. So yeah, it's been fun. And in terms of working with me, I do work with people on their sort of book concept all the way through getting that book written or writing a book proposal and all the pieces to get a publisher. And sometimes that includes helping people come up with strategies and finding resources for them that really, are customized for what they need to get that platform in shape, or even, get a website. Sometimes people don't even have an author website. So helping them figure out what they need and suggesting resources. And I do have a referral service, so for editors and ghostwriters and things like that as well. So I finger in a lot of pots, but I love to help people with the creative process. And I do have a new program coming up, kind of a where we're just, going to be getting together and writing and getting into that zone. So some quick, easy steps to get into that creative space and having that support to write on the calls. So that's another fun thing. Get your writing done.
Lisa, thank you for being our guest today. Really grateful for all your wise advice.
Thank you. Well, it's such a pleasure. And I really encourage listeners to do that, Pitch the Agents as part of the Nonfiction Writers Conference. It's such a great opportunity.
Thanks for listening. Visit nonfictionwritersconference.com to find out more about the conference, who's speaking, how to sign up, and where to find session replays. Until next week, this is your host, Carla King, signing off, reminding you to keep writing and publishing your nonfiction works. The world needs your experience and expertise.